afternoon. So I think I will not be too long today. We should go through 15 minutes journey just to discuss about luxury, 3D, digital, just to clarify some of the conclusions that we made after 3 years of experimentation through the FashionLab. That is one of the kind of, let's say, startup hosted by a big software editor that is Dassault Systèmes. So I get the chance in 2011 to build a totally new laboratory dedicated for fashion and luxury in order to capitalize most of the beautiful technology developed since 1981 from the automotive and aerospace and defense industry in order to take a look if 3D could be used in a different manner in order to nurture what we believe is the next generation of fashion and luxury. Oh, I think it's going quite fast. Technology is really beautiful when it works, but we have to be flexible. So let's back to the beginning. So when we are discussing about the FashionLab, the main definition of the FashionLab is really to put in the same room as an incubation laboratory, two different opposite entities. It's on one side the engineer, the best of the technology, on the other side the artistic inventiveness of the creator. And we focus our attention on the luxury fashion space. We don't pretend to cover everything, and this is the reason why we used to dig over the last 3 years to that specific domain, even if fashion includes a lot of subdomains like apparel, footwear, leather goods, and watches and high-fine jewelry. And through an incubation, we used to define incubation all the necessary conditions to make sure that we could nurture what we believe the next generation application, to let what we consider the key actor of the luxury industry, the artistic director, the designer, use the power of the technology in a simple manner in order to introduce at earliest as they can the 3D digital asset. And I will clarify in a few seconds the difference between digital and 3D digital asset. We have a motto at the FashionLab. Our motto, we love technology when technology is not perceived, when technology is invisible. It's key for us. We know that we are coming from the geek world. We are seen as a geek. But we do put a lot of energy, investment, money, in order to make sure that even if the technology behind is extremely powerful, it has to be invisible, especially for the audience that we target. Artistic director, designer, stylist don't like technology at all. We used to play with one of the invited haute couture designer who don't know how to send an email. But however, since 3 years, he works with us in order to test some of the most advanced developed solution to maybe a day, not so far, close, design in 3D in a simple manner, as we is used to do today with a pen and a can sandpaper. So this is a type of exercise that we try to cover and that we have started since 2010, officially since the 30th of November 2011, since we launched officially the FashionLab. And this is some of the examples that we did for last year for an high-fine jewelry exhibition that happened in May in Palais Tokyo. So this is a type of excellence that we're willing to produce. And this is where luxury is key, because luxury is for us the necessary level that we have to reach. We would have maybe made another decision to simplify our works, but we decide from day one to target the best quality. And a lot of journalists or other actors in the market question the FashionLab, what is your timeline? We don't have a necessary timeline. Our only timeline is to make sure that we embark with us the primary audience that we target, the artistic director, and also we bring emotion from this key entry point to the end part of the journey, the consumer. So it's a question of emotion. And this is what we try to keep, to preserve all along the development that we are making. Speaking about digital, we have made one of the most biggest public showcase. We used to produce one big showcase per year in order to demonstrate all the works we are making to simplify the technology at the upstream in order to let designers be embarked in our journey, but also to demonstrate how it's powerful on the consumer side. So the 22 of May, so 1 month ago, at Los Angeles, we recreate a complete pop-up store with two main, I would say, domain, a futuristic studio and a futuristic showroom, totally dedicated for luxury and articulate around a footwear capsule collection that will be on stage on the 8th of July for the Haute Couture Week. We really made the whole journey of letting our designer, one of them that we are working with since a long time, creating this capsule of shoes, this capsule of footwear without any instruction in a simple manner, and bringing emotion from the studio part to the end user part, to the consumer side. And as you could see, even if the quality of the images is not at the level that I would like, we have digital images, we have 3D digital images, we have 3D print, and we have the real product. And one of the main objectives is the emotion need to be bring to the designer and to all the necessary steps between the designer and the consumer. So it means the marketing, sales, retailers, store manager, and at the end, the consumer. And this is where the case we built was a perfect demonstration, and most of the well-known West Coast actors were there, from luxury to even retailers. This is where we made a perfect demonstration that 3D digital, when it's made in a perfect way, could really change the way where the product and even the future could be designed for a luxury industry. In a way where when you're confused regarding does it's real, does it's a physical product, is it a 3D print or whatever, when you are completely confused regarding the different assets we could publish on a display or even put physically into a beautiful écran of a shelf, this is where we succeed in our mission to just reveal the perception and the power of the 3D digital asset, introduced by the designer and bring to the consumer with a lot of emotion. We have made a lot of works, and in 2012, one of the things that we try to, I would say, clarify as quick as we can is technology doesn't compete against the craftsmanship tradition. And we focus on one of the teeny part of the luxury industry, on the embroidery space. Embroidery is really seen as one of the most difficult, also crystallize the craftsmanship tradition. I have a lot of respect for other sub-segments or other quality craftsmanship development made on multiple other products, but embroidery is really one of these specific part of the fashion luxury industry where it's really seen as a savoir-faire, as we say. We made a lot of development, and the beauty of what we developed is we use the same type of technology to design an Airbus, a Boeing, a luxury car, or whatever, to develop embroidery in a totally new manner. And I do remember the time where we showed this to the ex-president of the committee, Colbert, and she was quite impressed, and she said, "You are giving new competitive key to the luxury industry with such type of development." And we received an award from the Apparel Mag also in USA in 2012 for this. This just to demonstrate that if you reach the necessary level, you could keep one of the pillars of the luxury industry, that is this tradition, this savoir-faire, this craftsmanship tradition, and also leverage the technology to open new type of design exploration. That is one of the key essence that we try to preserve. To understand the big change that operate on the fashion industry, I used to produce this slide and to simplify as much as I can in order just to remind the tremendous technology change that operates in the 70s. And I just picked some of them. There is a lot of more well-known technologies that used to animate and, I would say, let this industry make some necessary evolvement and I would say some evolution in order to even accelerate much more faster than classic industry. Adobe, I think, made nothing for the luxury and the fashion industry. At the origin, it was made just to make publishing of books. However, it's one of the most used applications today to design digital assets. We want to provide the kind of Adobe for 3D digital asset, and this in the hands of the designer. We have also the emerging computer graphic images, and now a lot of the industry is nurtured with this movie and quality images. The key fact is today, the luxury industry invests in a lot of talent designer in order to create emotion. They do also invest, the same big luxury group or brands, in the multiple of apps in order to transport this emotion to the consumer. The fact is, this emotion vanishes in the emotional desert of the distribution model. And one of the key concepts that we want to establish as a dogma is ash to ash, human to human. Bring the emotion from the first moment to the latest moment. And we used to translate this as the next decade transformation that will happen, thanks to another key input that will drastically change this industry that was well addressed today on stage, is the 3D printing that for us ring the 3D manufacturing era. And this is where, with the kind of provocative title we put for this presentation, we do believe that the 3D manufacturing that start to emerge through the 3D printing, just look at it there, a lot of things will happen. And some of the key steps between the designer and the consumer will probably collapse in order to let merging new capability with new actors. Not necessarily us, maybe, I hope, but for sure, a blue ocean is in front of us. And now we are all on the airboard just to decide if we take the boat and we cross. If I would like to summarize in a 4 key transformation pillars this next 10 years projection, it would be in such way. The first one is everything has to start from the artistic director. We have to forget what we create in 2000, the technical designer, or any intermediate people who do try to translate what is coming from the studio from the designer himself, who are really at the heart of the emotion. So this is where investment needs to be made in order to make sure that the introduction of the 3D digital asset is made in a proper way. The second key aspect is we don't have to dissociate a 3D images or a 3D asset to all the definition of the real goods. He has to be one. He has to be a DNA. So it's something new that needs to be made from the first moment and never have to be dissociated. This is where we go to the second part. We need backbone. We need a complete chain, not a disrupted chain, that makes sure that since the DNA is created in order to define the physical product or the digital product, everything is maintained from the designer to the consumer. And through the emerging 3D manufacturing, it will open a lot of possibility. Next is the supply chain. The supply chain will have a drastic change thanks to the 3D manufacturing. And this is where probably tomorrow, some big actor of the supply chain will disappear. Because tomorrow, as the emerging of the service bureau, you will have the possibility to produce on demand and to create locally. You will have some of the key of a true sustainable development capability. And the last but not the least is the store. Most of the concepts in the past were to go for the full digital. We arrived to the conclusion that it will be a smooth transition on the consumer side, where we still have, especially for the fashion industry, to try. So we do not remove totally the physical asset. We do believe that physical asset will be maintained on a store, on a corner, on the consumer side. However, the 3D digital exploitation, emerging numbers of assets will be leveraged step by step in order to replace the inventory. And you will have new type of surface, corner, on store, that could be on a very ephemeral period or for a long period that will completely change the way we consume. In other words, we will stop to predict what the consumer wants. So the consumer will tell you by buying some asset 3D digitally produced, from which they will take already an action to say, I want it. I have tried one, but I will order the next 2 from a digital standpoint. And this is where inventory on the whole business model will be completely changed in order to propose new type of horizon. To conclude these 15 minutes, the big bang of the digital will completely change the shape of the industry. Some intermediate key actors will collapse due to the emerging of the 3D manufacturing. And it will start from some of the manufacturers, but also mostly on the supply chain. But at the end, from a luxury standpoint, it will reveal the best of the luxury industry by keeping all the brands who really have a nurture craftsmanship tradition that will highlight through the emerging of the digital asset the beauty of the products that are really an history and a tradition kept over the years and decades. And this is where luxury will reinforce one of the key pillars by jumping on the digital and preserving the craftsmanship. Thank you.